Cancel your Medicare Part B the month you move overseas, come home 6 years later, and Medicare adds 60% to your Part B premium, roughly $2,900 a year for a couple, and you keep paying it for as long as you hold Part B. That 60% has a name. It is the Part B late enrollment penalty, and it is not a fine, not a catch-up bill you clear once and forget. It is a permanent increase, recalculated every year the standard premium goes up. And keeping Part B instead is not the free option. $202.90 a month each. $405.80 for the two of you, every single month, for coverage that generally pays nothing in the country you are about to live in. Medicare does not move with you. That is the sentence the relocation quote never says out loud, and it bills you either way. Keep Part B, and you pay for coverage you cannot use. Drop it, and you pay a penalty for the rest of your life. I am your guide to the retirement decisions that get made on a spreadsheet and paid for in a foreign country. In the next 15 minutes, you get two budgets for the same American couple in the same town, the $2,200 a month on the brochure and the number they actually pay, with every line the brochure left out priced in dollars. Medicare, the care you actually buy over there, a tax return with no end date, and a check that travels, but not everywhere. And the final number is not the one either side of this argument likes to admit. Start with the one that catches people first. Whatever health plan you buy over there does not replace the Part B line. It sits underneath it. 2 health bills a month for the same 2 people in the same month. And only one of them ever pays a clinic. Quick favor before the first line. Tap like and subscribe so the next one of these reaches you before you sign a lease instead of after. Now the quote itself. Glenn and Diane are both 66, both on Medicare, both U.S. citizens, which matters more than they realize. They have found the town, they have read the blogs, and they have a monthly number for the two of them. Use their numbers as the worksheet for your own country. The 4 lines are the same everywhere, only the amounts change. Rent, furnished, 2 bedrooms, walkable, $900. Groceries and the markets, $450. Utilities, phone and internet, $180. Household help twice a week, $200. Transport with no car at all, $120. Dining out and everything they actually moved for, $350. $2,200 a month. And it is not a fantasy. A quoted budget like this one turns up all over the relocation blogs for towns in Latin America and Southeast Asia. Treat it as one-town math, not a countrywide average. At home, they were spending roughly $5,600 a month. So the quote says they save $3,400 a month by getting on a plane. That is the number that sells the move. Now let us price what the quote left out. 4 lines. Medicare, local coverage, U.S. taxes, the check itself. Line 1. Medicare. Part A, the hospital half, is premium-free for most people who worked enough quarters. Keep it. It costs nothing to hold, and for most retirees there is no reason to give it up. Part B is the decision. It is $202.90 a month per person in 2026, and original Medicare generally does not cover care you receive outside the United States. There are narrow exceptions written for emergencies near the border and on certain ships, and they will have nothing to do with a life in another hemisphere. So Glenn and Diane are looking at about $406 a month, roughly $4,900 a year, for something that will not pay a single clinic bill in the town they live in, which raises the obvious question. Why not drop it? Because Part B is not health care while you are abroad. It is the price of the door back in. Here is what dropping it costs. The Part B late enrollment penalty is 10% of the premium for each full 12-month period you could have been enrolled and were not, and you pay it for as long as you have Part B. It counts full 12-month periods, not calendar years, so the exact number depends on the months you leave and the month you sign back up. Say those 6 years abroad, give them 6 full periods, 60%. On today's standard premium, that is $121.74 a month each, $243.48 for the couple, about $2,922 a year, permanently. Now put the two branches side by side, because this is the whole decision. Keeping Part B for 6 years abroad costs about $29,200. Dropping it saves exactly that, and then charges roughly $2,922 a year once they are home. Divide one by the other, and you get 10 years. 6 years of premiums divided by a 60% penalty is always 10 years, whatever the premium happens to be that year. Live 10 years past the return flight, and dropping it costs them money. And because the penalty is a percentage of a premium that keeps rising, the real crossover tends to arrive sooner than that. Then there is the gap. Nobody prices. If you are not enrolled, you generally cannot enroll whenever you want. Unless a special enrollment period applies to you, the door is the general enrollment period. January 1st through March 31st, with coverage starting the first day of the month after you sign up. So they come home in May, no special enrollment period, and the earliest realistic start is February of the following year. Call it 9 months in their 70s with no Part B in the most expensive medical market on earth. Also worth knowing before you touch anything. Dropping Part B is not a checkbox. Social Security requires a form and generally a personal interview. And drug coverage carries its own separate, permanent late enrollment penalty, counted against the months you went without what Medicare calls creditable coverage, meaning drug coverage Medicare considers at least as good as its own. The rules for time spent living outside the country have their own wrinkles, so ask that question specifically when you enroll on the way back in. Line 2. The health care you actually buy over there. This is the line people mistake for a replacement. It is not. Whatever local plan or international policy Glenn and Diane buy is a new line on the budget, sitting underneath the Part B line, not instead of it. Call it $400 a month for the two of them as an illustration, and treat that as a floor, not a quote. Your real figure depends on the country, the insurer, your age on the day you apply, and what the policy excludes, deductibles, caps, and above all, pre-existing conditions. And your age on the day you apply is the trap. Expat health insurance is age-gated in a way American coverage is not. Some international policies stop accepting new applicants somewhere in the 70s, and in some popular destinations, local insurers close their doors far earlier than that, in the early 60s. Medicare has no medical underwriting and no age ceiling. The policy you are counting on abroad may have both. Apply early, before the move, before a diagnosis, not in the year you finally need it. There is one more reason the two lines coexist. If something serious happens, the diagnosis that needs a specialist you trust, in a language you dream in, a lot of Americans come home to be treated. That flight only works if Part B is active when you board. 2 lines down, 2 to go, and the real monthly total is still coming at the end. This next one is the line that keeps following you after the moving truck is long gone. Line 3. U.S. taxes. The return you will file every year for the rest of your life. The United States taxes its citizens on worldwide income regardless of where they live, not where the money is earned, not where the bank is, where you hold a passport, move permanently, become a tax resident of another country, never set foot in the U.S. again, and the filing obligation stays exactly where it was. There is one small mercy. If you are a U.S. citizen living outside the United States on the regular April due date, the IRS generally gives you an automatic 2-month extension to June 15th. The exact condition is written around where you live and where your main place of business is, so confirm it applies to your own situation rather than assuming retirement qualifies you automatically. And read the second half of that rule because it is the part that costs money. The extension is to file, not to pay. Interest still runs on anything unpaid from the regular April deadline. 2 more items belong on this line. If your foreign accounts added together cross $10,000 at any point in the year, a separate annual report is triggered. It is a foreign bank account report, commonly called the FBAR, filed as FinCEN Form 114, on its own schedule and unconnected to the tax return itself. Write those 2 names down. And leaving the country does not automatically end a state's claim on you. Several states look at your ties, not just your mailing address, so check your own state's rules rather than assuming that line disappeared at the airport. The practical cost is a preparer who genuinely handles cross-border returns. That is not the price of the domestic return you have been paying for. Put your own quote in this box. I am carrying $100 a month, spread over the year, as a placeholder. Line 4. The Social Security check itself. Social Security travels well, and that is real. If you are a U.S. citizen, you can generally receive your benefits while living outside the country. But generally is doing work in that sentence, and here is where it stops. Treasury rules prohibit sending payments to you while you live in Cuba or North Korea. There is a short additional list of countries where Social Security can only pay under restricted conditions. If you are a U.S. citizen who was living in a barred country, the withheld payments can be released once you move somewhere payments are permitted. That protection does not extend to everyone. And if one of you is not a U.S. citizen, the rules are materially stricter and turn on your specific situation. Social Security publishes a screening tool for payments outside the United States that answers this for the exact country. Run it on your country before the lease, not after. Then there is the part that never appears in a government rule. The check arrives in dollars. The rent arrives in something else. Nearly all of that $2,200 budget is billed in a currency that is not yours, and a 10% move in the exchange rate is about $220 a month in either direction without asking permission. That is not a bill. It is a range. Budget it as one. So let us total the real number. $2,200 for the life. $405.80 for Part B. $400 for the coverage that actually pays. $100 for the American paperwork. $3,105.80 a month. Against the $2,200 brochure number, that is about 41% more, with roughly $2,200 of it still exposed to the exchange rate. And here is the last 2 minutes part I promised you, the reason I did not open with it. Against $5,600 a month at home, the real budget still saves Glenn and Diane about $2,494 a month, just under $30,000 a year. The move can absolutely still be the right decision. It just is not the decision the quote described. The quote described a cost of living calculation, and the cost of living was never what was going to decide this. What decides it is a permanent premium you either pay or get penalized for, an insurance market with an age cutoff, a tax return with no end date, and a check whose value moves while you sleep. So here is the one thing to do with this. Before you price a single apartment, build the second budget first. Part B, the local policy quoted at your actual age today, the cross-border preparer's fee, and your country's status on Social Security's screening tool. If the move still works on that number, it will work on the good days and the bad ones. If it only works on the brochure number, you have not found your country yet. You have found a nice photograph. Because a move abroad is not a lower cost of living. It is a second budget, running inside a second system, paid for out of the first one. This is education, not financial advice and not legal advice. Run your own household's real numbers with a fiduciary and a cross-border tax professional before you sign anything. If this gave you a number worth running before you talk to anyone selling you a relocation, hit like. It is how these reach the next couple who are about to price the wrong budget. Subscribe if you want the retirement math run in plain English before the expensive decision instead of after it. Then type one word in the comments: country, if you want more of these overseas budgets, and add the country you're looking at if you already have one, because the Medicare problem is nearly the same everywhere and the Social Security answer is not. The passport is the part of this that does not fit in the suitcase. See you next time.